You're watching Football Daily, and today we're looking at coaches who couldn't stand each other. 10. Arrigo Sacchi and Fabio Capello. Sacchi led a tactical revolution at AC Milan in the late 1980s, but his appointment was not popular with fans at the time because he took the job of Fabio Capello, who was caretaker in that moment. But the Italian Giants became the most revered team in the world, winning back-to-back European Cups, a feat which hasn't been repeated since. Capello took the job for a second time in 1991 and arguably did even better than Sacchi, winning just one Champions League but adding 4 Serie A titles in just 5 seasons. Sacchi was quick to disregard Capello's achievements, saying it was simply the result of the great side he had inherited, and criticised his style of football. Feeling a bit bitter, are we, Arrigo? 9. Ronald Koeman and Louis van Gaal. Ronald Koeman was Louis van Gaal's number 2 at Barcelona in the late 90s, and the Dutch pair enjoyed a close working relationship. Koeman even helped Van Gaal mastermind the 98-99 La Liga Championship, and his time at the Nou Camp helped him secure the manager's post at Ajax in 2001. It was here where the two friends quickly became enemies. Van Gaal rejoined the Dutch Giants as technical director in 2004, but it wasn't long before he was out of the door. As the transfer market was coming to a close that summer, he was instrumental in the sale of Zlatan Ibrahimovic to Juventus on deadline day, a move which soured the relationship with Koeman, who didn't want to see the Swedish maestro sold. Things got so poisonous between the two that the manager threatened to walk if Louis van Gaal was not sacked. Van Gaal eventually resigned, but the damage was already done. Koeman was sacked 4 months later though, as the poor results continued. 8. Neil Warnock and Stan Ternant. Another manager who is never far from trouble is Neil Warnock. Warnock has always been famous for his fiery managerial style, and Gary Megson and Stan Ternant were 2 notable managers that got in his way. Warnock and Ternant shared dislike of each other bubbled over at the half-time interval of Sheffield United's 2-0 win over Burnley in 2001. Ternant accused Warnock of sending someone to spy on his Burnley team talk, and after, he went to complain to the referee. Eventually, Ternant got into a fight with Warnock's number 2, Kevin Blackwell, punching and headbutting him for good measure, according to the Burnley manager. Warnock famously said about Ternant and his other rival Gary Megson that he wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. Brutal. 7. McCoist and Lennon. Another famous pitchside bust-up came in 2011 between Rangers manager Ali McCoist and Celtic boss Neil Lennon. A year before, Rangers went into liquidation and plummeted down the leagues. The atmosphere at Old Firm derbies was hitting historic levels of hostility. It all boiled over at the end of Celtic's 1-0 win over the Gers, as McCoist made a cheeky comment to his opposite number, turning a friendly full-time handshake into a brawl, with 2 managers squaring up to each other at the mouth of the tunnel. They were both criticised for intensifying an already fiery atmosphere inside the stadium and throughout the west of Scotland, but Lennon was quick to defuse the heat-of-the-moment situation. Nevertheless, their touchline spat very much epitomises the hatred between the 2 Glasgow clubs. 6. Silvio Baldini and Mimmo Di Carlo. Italian managers are known for their pitch-side passion, and Baldini took it to comical levels back in 2007. During a tense league game between his Catania side and Di Carlo's Parma, the club who had sacked him just 3 years earlier, the occasion got too much for Baldini, and he was sent off for dissent. It wasn't over there though. With Baldini reluctant to leave the field, Di Carlo got involved, and the altercation ended up with a Catania manager kicking his opposite number up the arse. Afterwards, Baldini apologised to everyone involved at his club, and also to the Parma supporters as well. But he didn't apologise to Di Carlo, who he judged to have provoked him, and said he doesn't deserve it. 5. Brian Clough and Don Revie. 2 of the most high-profile managers in English football history did not see eye to eye in the early 1970s, as Derby and Leeds battled for supremacy in the First Division. Clough was eccentric and outspoken, openly criticising the robust style of Revie's Leeds. Things went from sour to poisonous when Revie left his legendary Peacocks team for the England job, and the reins were handed over to Clough. Clough failed miserably at Ellen Road and was sacked in humiliating fashion after just 7 weeks. The pair subsequently shared an infamous TV interview where Clough made clear his reasons for disliking Revie, as his predecessor defended the Leeds players who'd been calling for Clough's sacking. Clough, though, would more than redeem himself, going on to win the European Cup twice with Nottingham Forest, whilst Revie's England failed to qualify for the World Cup. 4. Nigel Clough and Billy Davies. It seems Clough's son Nigel is no stranger to controversy either. While managing Derby himself, he got into a spot of bother on the touchline with Nottingham Forest manager Billy Davies during a fiercely contested derby in 2010. In the midst of the late match pitchside melee between the two sides, Clough supposedly kneed Davies in the back, which spelled the end of their working relationship. Clough denied any wrongdoing, but his fiery counterpart wasn't having any of it, stating, "If he isn't happy to sit on an electric chair and tell the truth or lie, then I'm happy to sit on an electric chair and we'll see what the outcome is." Somebody please tell him that electric chairs and lie detectors are two different things. 3. Walter Mazzarri and Antonio Conte. And number 3 is a managerial rivalry of a very different nature. Whilst Conte was at Juventus and Mazzarri at Napoli, they weren't just fighting for titles. Mazzarri famously accused Conte of nicking his philosophy of using a 3-man defence after Juve adapted to it in a 3-3 draw with his side in 2011. After these accusations, Conte stopped speaking to Mazzarri and refused to be civil, leading to a period of very cold relations. Following another tight draw between their sides the following season, the then Juventus manager said in a press conference that they didn't so much as look at each other and declared each to their own bench, it's better that way. Since coming to the Premier League, their rivalry has softened, but Mazzarri must be pretty jealous of Conte's 3 at the back revolution at Stamford Bridge this year. 2. Sir Alex Ferguson and Kevin Keegan. Sir Alex Ferguson has also had plenty of spats with rival managers during his illustrious managerial career, but the one that started it all was with Kevin Keegan in 1996. As Newcastle famously squandered a 12-point lead to hand Manchester United the Premier League title, Ferguson couldn't help but twist the knife, suggesting that teams such as Nottingham Forest were being softer on Newcastle than they were on his side. Keegan couldn't handle his opponent's mischief and labelled his actions slanderous live on television before exclaiming, "I will love it if we beat them." Relations since have been better between the two, but the hate was very much alive at the time. 1. Jose Mourinho and Arsene Wenger and Pep Guardiola. Finally, the maestro of managerial feuds, Jose Mourinho. The Portuguese coach has never been one to shy away from ruffling a few feathers, and he loves to get under the skin of his rivals. But his histories with Arsene Wenger and Pep Guardiola are particularly fiery. Mourinho and Wenger first locked horns in 2004, after Wenger made some comments about Chelsea's dip in form. The former Porto manager replied by calling him a voyeur, adding that he likes to watch people. It didn't stop there though. In 2014, Mourinho famously called Wenger a specialist in failure, and things came to a head that October when the Arsenal manager pushed Mourinho on the touchline, prompting the Silver Fox to turn into a pussy. Meanwhile, Mourinho and Guardiola were originally friends, enjoying a professional and working relationship whilst they were at Barcelona in the 90s. But things quickly turned sour when Pep beat Jose to the Barca's manager job, before they came up against each other in some of the fiercest Clásicos ever. The special one did his best to unsettle Guardiola's era of huge success with the Catalans, and the biggest rivalry in Europe reached tipping point in 2011 during the Spanish Super Cup, after an on-the-pitch melee broke out and Mourinho gouged Pep's number 2 Tito Vilanova in the eye. Classy as ever. So there we have it, but what do you guys at home think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you click here for loads more great content and down there to subscribe. And as always guys, we'll catch you later.